Tal Love. Chapter 4. Hi Mum, how are you? My life is better than ever before. I'm well paid, famous, people even recognize me on the street, and it seems I'm in love again. Yes, that girl from Sweden, your feelings can't be wrong, can they? She's very nice, very sweet, and unbearably lovely. I'm sure you'll like her at first sight. 1. Just can't resist her charm and aura, believe you me. It's too early to promise, but I'll try to bring her with me next time I come to visit you. I'm happy to hear that Dad's fully recovered. Pass him my love. Rob. Their meetings were rare, his job required traveling, her job demanded the same. But both loved to see each other whenever possible. At first, their dates only took place in her or his flat. Despite his feelings towards her, he found it rather uncomfortable to be seen in public with a stunning blonde 3 heads taller than him. Even at home, he subconsciously avoided mirrors. He didn't like to see himself next to a girl whose lovely breasts were a full head higher than the top of his own head. At moments like this, Robin felt like a kid next to a fully grown young woman, and didn't like the comparison. But he couldn't help himself, his attraction to Bretta was so strong it defied everything else, including his own dislikes. As time passed, however, he got used to being with her, feeling her unmissable presence, and looking constantly up, way up at her, tilting his neck in order to talk to her, no matter whether she was standing or sitting, even sitting in a chair or on a kitchen stool, she was still taller than he was standing in front of her. The only exception was a deep leather sofa in his flat. When Bretta lowered herself onto it, he could come closer and, standing next to her, look her in the eye, or even a little downwards. He got so used to her tallness that he couldn't imagine any longer having a relationship with somebody shorter. To be entirely honest, he couldn't imagine having a relationship with anybody else, full stop. All those anybody else were invariably short in his eyes, much too short, even if in reality they were taller than he was. She also grew to love him. Her only complaint was their loneliness. A couple of times, she hinted that it would be nice to go out, anywhere, actually, a disco, a cafe, a cinema, whatever, and he agreed at last. Hi Mum, there's no rush. I will visit you, hopefully sooner rather than later, but right now, work and stuff make the decision too hard to make. I promise to call you as soon as I know when I'll come along, okay? And yes, I will certainly try to bring Bretta with me. But this only makes things more complicated than they already are. She has fashion shows scheduled back to back and has not been able to find a window in her diary thus far. But we keep working on it, and we'll sort it out one way or another. Take care, and don't be upset. Look, the winter is already over. Kisses. Rob. Their first time out was a test of his self-restraint. She wore the lowest shoes possible, but still towered over him like a telegraph pole. He knew she was more than 30 inches taller, and everybody who saw them on the streets couldn't possibly fail to notice that either. They moaned and gasped as Rob and Bretta passed them, but she told him it could have been worse if she were on her own. At least nobody has yet scared me whether I play basketball, what the weather is like up here, whether I'm able to peek into the first floor window, compared their heights with mine, or asked me to walk through a door to watch me bend. This is already a huge achievement, believe you me. Do they do all those weird things often? Robin was stunned to hear that. All the time. It's not easy to be the tallest human being on this planet, she quoted his own words from the article with a smile. And that picture at the car park entrance, it only seems funny to have those beams at the level of your stomach, but have you ever tried to walk into a door that is lower than your chest?
If you're enjoying the story, or even if you're not, please like or dislike it, share, and leave a comment. Positive or negative, they are all welcome. And do visit my page on Patreon, where you'll find new stories as well as the familiar ones. Patreon.com/Alex Steak. Thank you.
He was confused. No? Then our next trip will be to a theme park, preferably Legoland, she giggled. They have a whole town there, scaled down for little kids. I think we'll be able to find a door or two for you to try the trick." They finished their coffee and got up. The next entry in their plan was a cinema. She suggested the Odeon in Leicester Square. "They have fairly spacious legroom," she explained. This was an unbeatable argument. Frankly speaking, he liked the place too, and would choose it as well if only he was alone. This time, however, it was hell. Every single person in the whole square stared at them. Tourists pointed their cameras at them, and all he could hear was the noise pollution consisting of clicks, and all he could see was a constellation of flashes. Finally, he found a solution. Imagine, he told himself, that Bretta and I are movie stars marching down the red carpet. This helped him forget about the gazes and proudly accompany his gorgeous partner through the crowds to the ticket office. Once they reached the end of the queue, he gestured for her to bend down and whispered, "Shall we think of selling licenses to stare?" "Why, do you think I'm a circus freak or something?" She pretended to be offended but couldn't help bursting into laughter a second later. "It might be a good idea, you know. At least we'd make some money out of my unbearable highness." "Who told you you're unbearable?" Bretta had already stretched up, and he almost shouted these words to make sure he was heard by her. "You are more than bearable." She laughed again. "I'm glad to hear that, but I doubt you could bear me. I mean, physically." "What, lift you?" He liked the game, at least it made him able to shift his attention from those annoying eyes around. "Can your highness wait until we're back at home?" They were already at the office window when Robin realized that he had left his wallet at home. He checked his pockets and found only a fiver and some change, not enough to get them in. "Sorry, Bretta, do you have any cash on you? I'll reimburse you as soon as I get hold of my cards." She couldn't hear him, she was too high above. She realized he was saying something but couldn't bend this time. They were surrounded by a dense crowd. Therefore, she did something that was purely natural to her, but people around were shocked. She knelt in front of Robin, almost leveling herself with him, and said, "What?" He repeated the question. "Ah, yes, of course," she said, and stood up again to reach into the pocket of her custom-made jeans. "They take Visa, do they?" Another bend, this time to the window. This innocent act made the crowd gasp. The windowsill was up to the average person's mid-chest. For Bretta, it was mid-thigh level. She turned back, apologized to those standing behind, took a step backward, and lowered her upper half to the window, keeping her legs straight. "It's my usual fitness exercise," she told him later, explaining why she'd chosen to do that instead of bending her knees. From afar, the sight could hardly be called normal, the longer-than-life pair of legs in tight blue jeans, then a cute round bottom, or rather an uppum, due to its position above the ground, then an 80-degree angle, then a pink suede jacket, and finally, slightly lower than the bum, a blonde head. It was so unusual that some guy came to Bretta from behind, turned his back toward her, and smiled at his friend's camera with his head at the level of those nice, round buttocks of hers. Luckily, Robin didn't see it. He was busy asking the cashier which row provided the best legroom. To be continued.
If you're enjoying the story, or even if you're not, please like or dislike it, share, and leave a comment. Positive or negative, they are all welcome. And do visit my page on Patreon, where you'll find new stories as well as the familiar ones. Patreon.com/Alex Steak. Thank you.